Hello, everyone, and welcome to 1923 Main Street.
Home of the Daddy-Daughter Disney Travel Podcast. We are your hosts.
I am Mike Bello-Braddock.
And I'm Amelia Bello-Braddock. And today you're going to be getting all the secret tips for the best spots to relax at Walt Disney World and Disneyland.
And when we're talking about this, I am not talking about going on rides to relax, because I find a lot of blog
I don't know how
posts.
relaxing that is.
Yeah, if you look up blog posts about where to relax in Disney parks, they continually say things like Carousel of Progress or the People Mover. But do you find it relaxing to wait in line to get on a ride and then have to get off?
I don't know about anyone else, but for me, the People Mover line is ridiculously long.
It can be, yes.
Who is waiting 2 hours to go on the People Mover?
And you know, some of those tips we actually do give as tips, but for cooling off. Yeah, like Carousel of Progress, you know, fun, classic, old Disney ride. It's good to go in there and chill in air conditioning and watch the show. But I'm talking about you're walking around with your kids, little Amelia, many years ago. It's hot, it's sunny, and people are getting cranky, and you just want to grab a seat and sit down. But it's not always as easy as you think. If you really think about where are these benches and seating areas in Disney parks?
And I have to tell you, sometimes sitting on the nice little things kids use as walkways by the plants aren't always the most comfortable seats.
And actually, okay, I was going to say that, and there you did. You came right up with it on your own. So really, there are, and those are seats. So in Disney parks, there are really two types of seating. You can grab a seat if you're walking around. You don't want to have to go to a restaurant to get a seat. Let's say you have your own food. I mean, we're not a backpack family, but many people are. And let's say you've brought your own snacks, or you just want to grab an ice cream and sit down. The planters are definitely seating, and I'm pretty sure they're Imagineered that way.
They're seating. They're just not the most comfortable.
Yes, they are not the most comfortable. So there are two types of seating in Disney parks. There are planters, or walls, like little ridgeway walls, or there are actual benches. The trick is, where are the benches that are not in the blazing Florida sun?
Oof.
So I have some favorites in each and every Disney park that I'll share with you, but we'll talk about some of the good spots in each park. Now, if it's a cloudy day, then benches are fine. And I also have another observation for you. See if you've noticed this. Disneyland, California Adventure and Disneyland Park, in my experience, actually have more bench seating than the Walt Disney World parks do. Or at least in better areas.
No, I could vouch for that. I think that's probably true, which is odd, but yet it's true.
And I was thinking about this, and I find it sort of interesting, because if you remember, or maybe you've never heard this, not you, Amelia, but our listeners have never heard the story about Walt Disney, how he came up with the Disneyland idea, and he was sitting on a bench in some sort of carnival watching his kids with a unsavory type of carny person, but he was actually sitting on a bench. So there he was, wherever he was, sitting and watching. So I said, well, that sort of makes sense that when he designed Disneyland, there's lots of benches there.
He came up with some of his best ideas sitting and watching, like counting how many steps the average person took before throwing things in the trash.
That's right. And somehow, after he passed away, the benches got lost a little bit in the Disney World parks. They're still there, of course. But just for example, we'll get into this more. But if you consider the town square at Disneyland, right when you come through the gates, and the town square at Disney World, it seems to me there are more benches at Disneyland Town Square, right inside the gates, in that little middle area of the square, than there are at the Disney World. That's just how it strikes me. Definitely, they're more noticeable. So Disneyland seems to have more bench seating, and the weather's nicer there. It's generally not as hot. So I don't know. It's sort of weird. But let's dive right in. Well, let's start with, as I always like to do, Magic Kingdom Park. Finding seating without having to go to a restaurant or all that sort of thing. Now, one of my favorite spots I'll start with, it's not really seating necessarily, but it is a great spot. There is seating there, is Tom Sawyer Island.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about this before.
Of course there's seating.
You know what I really love about it? There are 3 rocking chairs right in the little area where you get off on the island in the little
Who
boat ramp
goes
there.
to Tom Sawyer Island to sit?
The
there
parents.
are caves, there are playgrounds, there are tree houses, and you're gonna sit?
And here's the beauty of it. Yes. So if you have kids, you can go to Tom Sawyer Island. They're not going to be able to get away because it's an island. They might get lost a little bit. But if you want, there are like those 3 rocking chairs, and they're shaded. So premium spots. The underlying trick for all of this is these are popular spots. I'll give you some that are sort of hidden, but if you can get the seats, that's a good one. And then, of course, there are other spots on Tom Sawyer Island where you can sit and relax while your kids play, and it's almost all shaded.
Yeah, it's true.
Now, let's go by land. So Tomorrowland, there's not a lot of shady spots in Tomorrowland, unfortunately.
Pretty sunny.
It's pretty sunny,
Which is great if you like the sun.
Yeah, it's hard to beat the sun there. And they're mostly type of planters. There's those ones right out in front of Space Mountain. That's where we tend to sit. Sometimes there's planters that actually have a little bench on the planter, like sticking out from it, concrete. And it's quite handy because there's ice cream and popcorn carts right there and drinks. So that's okay, but it is pretty sunny. Another popular spot in Fantasyland right in front of the castle is where we do the VIP fireworks. In those sort of lawns. I think it's fake grass. In the daytime, they're open. So you can go sit out in front of the castle, but...
A lot of these are also great for pictures, too.
That's a good point.
You could take pictures. You could have pictures of someone chilling on a bench. I love those pictures.
Yeah, or on the grass. It's sort of like a picnic. However, and this is since they redid that whole hub area in front of the castle, there's lots of spots now to sit, but... It's pretty much pure sun. There are tiny little trees, I think, but you're in the sun there. So if it's, as we talked about in a recent episode, and to correct, I said 125 degrees in the episode when I talked about summer last week. Well, I actually went back. This is a sideline, people. For those of you who listened to the last episode, we were talking about how to beat the heat in the summer. So this is sort of related to that. But there was that one day, and I looked up the heat index for that day. And do you remember what I said it was?
169 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it felt like 169 degrees Fahrenheit. That's how hot it was. That's that record-setting day I was talking about where I said it felt like a sauna.
And for everyone not in America, 76 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. So
76.
Can you imagine a heat index of 169 or feels like 76 Celsius? So on those days, you want the shade.
Yeah.
So I would not be sitting out in front of the castle on that ground.
Or if it's raining.
It's going to be really hot.
Florida summers. Careful of the rain.
Yes. Another one, sheltered ones. So those Tom Sawyer ones I was talking about, those are premium. Those are almost perfect. Those 3 rocking chairs, it's a covered area.
Yeah, they're under, I think, trees too.
No, it's not even a tree. Well, they are under trees, but they're actually in like an enclosed wooden building. So they're really not enclosed. It's open to the water, but
like a pavilion.
It's got a roof, put it that way. So that's great. And another thing they've done recently is made the washroom areas seating areas. And I'm talking about...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Rapunzel's washroom. So a long time ago, that area was where you boarded the Skyway to Tomorrowland when they had the cable cars. And then they eventually, many years ago, redid it as Corona, the Kingdom of Corona, and Rapunzel's towers in the background. It's really washrooms, and there's the hidden Pascals, but there is a ton of seating in that area. There's everything there. There's actually tables, so you can actually sit down and eat. There's 1 or 2 tables. There are also benches, and there are the planter benches, so there's lots of seating there. It is usually quite busy. However, it too is always in the open, mostly. It's not quite shaded. It depends on the time of day as well, right? Like there might be shade at some time of day.
Yeah.
Another spot around there that you can go in the Magic Kingdom, the pathway along the water in Frontierland. Let's say it's facing Tom Sawyer Island, and you'd walk all the way around towards Splash Mountain. There's little spots and seats along there, and there's lots of benches in Tomorrowland.
Basically,
in Frontierland.
It's just a shortcut, but...
Yeah, the shortcut is a good little spot to relax.
It has like 20 benches in that one little segment.
Yeah, and Town Square does have a lot at the front of the park seating, but it, again, pretty wide open. The area I find most lacking in seating is Adventureland.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I
But
don't know
there
why.
are some little benches, and they can be shaded. So this is the first recommended spot near the Swiss Family Treehouse.
Oh.
There's a long sort of I think they're rock benches along the greenery, but you can get some shade there. But my most favorite secret bench in the whole park is, you know where Tiana is often seen? It's a gazebo
Mm-hmm.
by the castle, very close to that.
No one ever goes there.
Well, there's people in line for Tiana, but they're out
Yeah.
of the way. But on one of those walkways, sort of between the castle and that pavilion, there is a single bench under a tree. So people,
Get your cameras.
that is your tip. That is a shaded bench. It's like a white wooden looking bench.
Excellent view for photos,
Yeah, it's
chilling, eating, whatever.
Everything. It's a great spot. And yeah, so for Magic Kingdom Park, that is what I would recommend. What park do you want me to jump to now?
How about let's keep with the kingdoms.
All right, Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom,
Doesn't have a lot.
actually, it does.
No,
Well,
because they're all sunny.
they are. There's a lot of sunny ones, but I'm going to share with you some good ones. Now, some of these have been lost since they launched the Animal Kingdom shows on the water near Expedition Everest. But if you go down, when you're in front of Expedition Everest on that pathway, there are a few little secret pathways down towards the water where there are areas to sit. They may not be benches, but you can sit, you can, have a drink, relax, and they are shaded. So discover those areas near Expedition Everest. That is one good spot. There's a ton of benches near Flame Tree Barbecue, those colorful ones with little animals, but they're in the sun.
But if you don't mind the sun, there's like pretty much a bench at every turn in Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, there are a lot of benches. See, you just said there weren't, but there really are.
Well, do you want to sit in the blazing sun?
No, that's the thing. But I have a gold mine one there I'll tell you about. Now, my second to best seating areas there are around the Tree of Life. If you go around the paths, you know where not Princess, but Pocahontas, I guess she is a Disney princess, down some of those paths where you can also find Pocahontas, there's some shade and there's some seating areas. So hang around, and those Tree of Life paths are not crowded. A lot of people don't go down there. They just sort of look at the Tree of Life from a distance.
And another one that's kind of in the sun is by Dino Land, which is also good if you have kids because then they can play.
The Boneyard.
Yeah, the Boneyard. But you can see them, but you can also sit and relax while they
That's
explore.
true. If you go right in the Boneyard with your kids, you will get some dappled shade, and there is some seating. That's a good recommendation from a kid. And do kids like the Boneyard?
Everyone likes the Boneyard.
I didn't love it personally, but I did actually, they sell beer near there too, so.
No, it's not the beer yard. It's the Boneyard.
But if you're an adult and a kid, you can get yourself something to sip on, a cool drink while your kids are playing, and you can get some dappled shade. So that's a good one. I did not have that on my list.
I'm insightful from every angle. That's what I do.
Well, along those lines, when you and I go on Flight of Passage and Mummy doesn't want to go, there sort of can be shade. So
There's no shade.
in Pandora, where you can get those bubble drinks.
Boba.
Yeah, those boba bubble drinks. And you can sit. It's not proper benches. It is a rock wall against a garden. But at certain times of day, you can grab a little bit of shade.
Some children would, assume is a stage. So there's always
Not
that.
this one. It's sort of rustic rocks.
Everything can be a stage at Disneyland.
All the world's a
World.
stage, as they say.
It's Disney World too. What do you expect? Of course it's a stage.
Do you want to hear my favorite and recommended, guaranteed 100% shade, benches with shade in Animal Kingdom
Go
all
for
the time, and even covered from rain?
Go for it.
The Oasis. The Oasis is when you walk
yeah.
into the park, you first walk into the park, you have to go through the Oasis, and it's a very sheltered, treed area. There's all those little water areas, lots of animals, and sort of little Disney caves.
Yeah.
There are many benches there inside those little caves. So they're completely covered from rain. They're covered from sun. They're covered from everything. And there's areas where there's like 2 benches. So that is a guaranteed spot if you can get one in Animal Kingdom Park where you can kick back and relax with yourself, with your kids, whatever you want to do. Animal Kingdom Park. There are some spots if you know where to look. So now you know the secrets. You can check them out. Now let's hop on over to Epcot.
Epcot actually has a lot, in my opinion.
And it needs them because it's a blistering
Huge.
and it's a blistering sun park. There's not a ton of shade in Epcot. Or if there is, it's mostly sun and concrete. So it is hot.
Although my problem with some of the benches is they're metal and they're in the sun.
Yeah, there's a lot of benches in the sun at Epcot.
Disney, do you know what happens when you put metal and black in the sun?
Yeah.
It gets
It
very
gets
warm.
very, very hot. Now, first of all, I would say World Showcase, that's where you're going to find shady benches.
There are a lot within each country.
Exactly. Like Canada has some, Morocco
France has a
has
few good
some,
ones.
France has some. So you have to go into the pavilions. So if it's a hot, sunny day, and I always feel we're walking around Epcot in the summer visits, going back to the summer vacation.
That's because I don't let anyone go during Flower and Garden Festival because I think that's a waste of time.
And it's No, I love that festival. But it's screeching hot in Epcot in the summer because for all the reasons we said, it's mostly concrete. There are some trees, but they're not always in the right spots. Actually, where you meet Belle, that's a nice shaded spot.
That's actually a pretty good spot.
In France, that's by the water. But your best bet is to go into the pavilion areas, in their little back areas, and you will find some shaded areas.
And like where you used to meet Duffy too.
Oh, yeah, over by the very beginning.
Yeah.
And Morocco has some. So there's lots of them. Italy, Germany, I don't know if there's so many benches, but take a look around.
I have a special edition lounge spot. Not so much of a bench, but if you are a Disney Vacation Club member, there is, of course, the DVC lounge.
Right.
Near Figment's Journey into Imagination.
That is a good tip. That is a great spot to relax. That is not a restaurant. You don't have to pay to get in.
Well, it's not. You need a DVC member
card.
Or
be with someone who is a DVC member.
Yes, you have to have your card or someone has to have their card.
Yeah, you can't bring 20 tons of people in, but if you can get in there, it is, I would say it's the best spot if you can.
Well, personally for me, it is the
We
best
love
spot.
going in there, so it is obviously indoors, air conditioned.
They have
iPads,
drink machines.
They have a Coke, like pop and water, soda, depending on what
You can
state or
mix
country you
them.
live in. Yeah, you can mix them up. They do come around with little snacks like chips and stuff. Yeah, that is the best spot. And then my other recommended spot, there's some benches around Mission Space because I can't do that ride anymore. So,
I can.
But you go on it. Now, these ones are challenging.
I went on it alone one time. I was so proud of myself.
Yeah. Right out in front of Mission Space, they're planter wall benches, but they have umbrellas next to them. So
They do, and I thought that was a good addition that they put in.
But depending on the time of day, you might not always get the sun going at the right angle. But that is a good spot. But my best tip here is there's a little pathway between Test Track and Mission Space. So walking from Test Track to Mission Space where there are some shaded benches.
Yeah.
Usually, almost all the time, they're shaded. So that would be the little tip area to walk or to find shade in Epcot.
I'll give you that. I'll allow it.
Hollywood Studios.
This one has a surprisingly small amount.
Yeah,
it's surprisingly small.
Hollywood Studios, seems like poor Hollywood Studios. Every time we talk about it, because it was the park that was just thrown together the quickest.
It has a terrible layout.
It has a terrible layout, and it's missing a lot of the extra thought.
There's a few benches right when you walk in before you go down Hollywood Boulevard near the bathrooms. There's a few benches over there you can sit on, and then there's none.
Wait, which ones did you just say?
Like right in bathrooms when you first walk in before you go down Hollywood Boulevard.
But they're sunny, except for later when it depends on the time of day.
It does.
For
it depends on the time of day.
But there are benches there. That's a good point. My favorite ones are which can be shaded. Again, Mummy takes advantage of these because she doesn't go on Tower of Terror. But
we never go on them.
But when you come out of Tower of Terror, you go through the store, and when you exit the store, there's a little Joffrey's, I think, coffee booth there. Yeah. That is a great spot. There's a bunch of seating right up against that wall at the back, and like sort of a nice Disney wall, a rustic wall with plants and everything. But those can be shaded off, and there's quite a few people there because of that. They're waiting for people.
I mean, we never sit there, but if you do have family members,
that is a good spot.
Yeah, well,
that would be one of the tips.
Yeah, so if you have family members, that's a good spot.
Yeah, yeah. If you don't go in TOT. Now, another good one, there's benches under a canopy at Brown Derby. And there's a little canopied entrance to the Hollywood Brown Derby restaurant and starring roles there. It's sort of where near the popcorn at the main hub when you come in. And those are actually covered under a canopy. There's at least 2 of those sort of black wrought iron benches, but they have wooden seats. You know, the kind we have one of those out in front of our house actually. But they're those kind of like classic park benches.
Yeah.
Those are undercover. They would even keep you dry in rain.
Yeah, and there's none in actual Toy Story Land.
Oh, that's the worst
like
area.
none there.
That is a brutal heat area. People just beware.
But there's a few in like the little hub before you turn to get there. There's also a few there.
There's a few near washrooms in that area too, which can be shaded actually. So not right in Toy Story Land, but nearby on your way to Galaxy's Edge if you're going that way.
Yeah, I think the thing with Animal Kingdom is they have benches. They have like
Animal Kingdom?
No, Hollywood. They have a cluster of benches in like kind of a courtyardy area, but barely near any of the actual rides or high profile stuff that people are actually going on or have people waiting for. That's at least my interpretation.
Yeah. And then the last spot I would talk about, and this one, there's not a lot of people either. So it's probably one of my favorite spots. Actually, just thought of another one. There's 2 in Hollywood Studios. One is in the animation courtyard. Way towards the back. There are some restrooms. There's a little shop there.
It's really quiet.
It's quiet. It's a really good spot to relax, and you can often find shade. And in fact, if you want a blast of air, those restrooms there are super AC. I remember going in there just in summer.
Why do you know that?
Because I remember air-conditioned spots from hot, sunny days. And then other bathrooms over towards where Star Tours is, past where they used to do American Idol in that big, large auditorium area. There are other benches which can be shaded too. So Hollywood does have a few spots, not as many as other parks. But the trick is to try to remember what we've told you here in terms of the shady area benches. Each park has its secret spots. So we've tried to share our favorite secret spots at Walt Disney World. Now jumping over to Disneyland.
It has so many more benches.
It has so many more. You know what? And one of my favorite things about Disneyland, you talk about Walt Disney and him trying to make it feel like a real Main Street in Main Street, USA.
Yeah.
The thing I love most is on Main Street, USA, in Disneyland, on the right side, next to the Silhouette Studios, there are rocking chairs on Main Street up on a porch that's covered. And, you know, you can actually sit on Main Street in a rocking chair, like watching people go by as if you really were in a town.
Yeah.
Those are my favorite covered places to relax at Disneyland. Why did they not do that at Disney World?
I don't know.
I don't get it at all. It's like so cool.
Oh, here's one thing that they have at both Disneyland and Disney World. You can get a silhouette done of yourself, and then there's also benches in that little nook.
Yes.
Where you go. So especially if you have a kid or an adult, whoever's getting a silhouette done and you're not, you can sit and wait there. It's shaded too because it's in a
those benches I know what you mean on Main Street on the right in Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom.
Yeah.
But those ones are popular. But if you want to get a silhouette done, you can actually sit and relax, sit still. You're going to be
get a very nice photo of yourself.
Yeah, an umbrella
I want to do
shade.
another one.
Yeah. You should do another one.
Let's go do another one.
So Disneyland, there's almost too many to tell, right? They seem to have, and it's shadier in most areas as well. Even their Galaxy's Edge has more shade.
And for me, I would almost say that there's no good spot per se because there's a bench around every turn and some of them are shaded and some of them depend on the time of day and some of them are in the sun, but you don't always want the shade. So
and the same thing if you cross the street and go to California Adventure. So many good shady spots, even in Cars Land, Radiator Springs. Now, those ones, okay, I'll admit, the Radiator Springs ones tend to be sunny.
Yeah.
And it's hot in Radiator Springs.
Really great if you're waiting in line for a fast pass all day.
But Pixar Pier, formerly Paradise Pier, nice shady benches there.
Yes.
Over in that Castle Wharf. So it's the area that's mostly a food court. But it's a sort of an open food court, so you can sort of steal a seat without someone getting mad at you that you're taking a seat from paid customers. I don't know how much they enforce it there, but there are shady spots there. And even over by Mission Breakout and pretty much anywhere you go. And if you really want to get in the shade, of course, there's a Tom Sawyer Island in Disneyland, but also the what used to be the Wilderness Explorers area. I guess it still is. But they don't have the characters anymore. Russell and Doug are not there. But that is a pretty shady area. And so your kid, sort of like the boneyard or any of those other play areas you were talking about, you love to go in there and play on all those rock walls and zip lines and all the stuff they have in there. Kids can play, but the parents, there are many benches in there and they are all shaded. So that would be my number one area. Even if you don't have kids and you just want to go sit down in a shaded area, go into that Wilderness Explorers area. It's close to the River Rapids, or Grizzly River Run, actually, in California Adventure. And it's on the right side of the trail if you're walking over towards Pixar Pier. It is a great covered area with benches under the trees. So a really good spot. What is your favorite spot to sit and relax in any park?
Favorite spot to sit and relax? Can I say the DVC Lounge?
Yes.
Can I say that? I love it there.
Okay, so other than the DVC Lounge, for anyone listening who's not a DVC room,
iPad, and you can mix the drinks.
What are your favorite ones?
I don't know. It depends for each park. I actually prefer sitting in the sun. I don't like to sit in the shade. I get cold.
Even in the hot sun?
Yeah, I like sitting in the hot sun because it's just a break. Personally, for me, I'm very lazy and I don't like to walk. So every time I can sit on any bench, I'm like, okay, well, pause, everyone. We're going to take a seat now.
Actually, as you're saying that, you reminded me to sort of close out this episode of another one of my favorite spots. And I just thought of it because it offers both sun and shade. And that is when it's at the Mad Tea Party.
Oh, yeah.
In Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom. It's a planter bench, but it is a bench. You're not actually sitting on a wall. Sometimes you're sitting on the rock wall, but this one is a little bench, but there's a big tree there and you're facing the back side, not where you enter, but the other side of the teacups. And you look at it, and we often grab ice cream and sit there.
Yeah.
Or a coffee over in Tomorrowland. And there's a bunch of benches in Tomorrowland out by the washrooms, not far from there, but they're mostly in the sun. Yeah. These ones at Mad Tea Party are shaded. And I actually have a lot of pictures. Maybe I'll post one of you eating ice cream with your cousins on those benches.
Yeah.
You know the ones I mean now.
Yeah,
Since I said that. It's a really good spot in the shade, pretty much always shaded. So that's a good secret spot.
Also, I really like that spot, but Tom Sawyer Island also is
Tom
one of
Sawyer
my
Island.
favorites that everyone can go to.
In both Disneyland and Disney
That's also
World.
one of the reasons I like it because it's versatile. It's in both lands.
Yes, it's in both coasts, Disney. So there you go, folks. These are some favorite spots where you don't have to line up and get on a ride. And then how much can you really relax when you've got to get off in 10 seconds? So I'm talking about when you just want to take a break, you've been walking. If
you're
it's
not
sunny,
quite so hungry enough for a meal.
You might have snacks on your own, or maybe you want to get an ice cream or coffee and you just want to sit down for 10 minutes and relax. Take a look for some of these spots, jot them down, and have a little relaxing time on us in the Disney parks. So we hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you found it useful, and have a magical day and much fun on your next Disney vacation. And follow us online at 1923 Main Street. Amelia keeps trying to give her signature sign off, but I just keep talking. All right, I will let you go. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a magical day.
Bye-bye.